Not Quite Cool is a podcast that contains spoilers, opinions, and general nonsense. Listener discretion is advised.
Here's how this situation works.
This both of you out of your fucking mind. That's how this is starting.
Now let's get it.
Let's track back.
This is what happened. We're going to start with the First Omen, just so I can tell this story. So I'm watching the First Omen. Welcome to Not Quite Cool. I'm Keith. Chad's here. Rob's here. Fuck it. Here's what happened. Nope. So I'm watching I can't even think of the name. I'm so pissed off. I'm watching the First Omen. I'm like 30 minutes into the fucking movie. For some reason, I have to talk to Rob. It's like a community service sort of thing. So, yeah, making sure he's still alive and that dogs aren't eating his carcass in his house. So I call him and I'm like, yeah, I'm just watching this. He's like, oh, I watched that. Wait till you see this one girl. Oh my God, she's so fucking hot. The hottest fucking woman I've ever seen in my life.
Talk like that. I say how beautiful she was. What a classy looking woman.
He's like the bazingas on this bitch. I couldn't.
Keith is a pig. He's disgusting. He's R-rating it up. I was saying, wow, what nice.
Says the man who looks like he's eating potpourri right now. But so I'm not that far into the movie, and I'm like, okay. Hot chick, what hot chick? And he says, oh, you'll recognize her when you see her. And he's like, text me hot nun. And I'm like,
so far, all true.
okay. And then I hang up the phone. I'm watching it. She just gets to the nunnery. There's like this 95-year-old nun there. And I'm like, is that who the fuck he's talking about? And then 2 seconds later, there's a woman with mental challenges that never is brought up again in the movie. And I'm like, is that the woman he's talking about? And I go an hour and 15 minutes into this movie going, who the fuck is he talking about? Because it has to be like that. Like, those are the only fucking nuns I've seen in this movie so far.
I'm pulling her up on IMDb. You're an idiot.
Did you get it mixed up with Immaculate and it's Sydney Sweeney?
No, it's the roommate that he's talking about.
Oh, okay.
Who is a very attractive woman, but I thought I was gonna be fucking Tex Avery eyes popping out of my head for this girl. And
stunning.
She's fine. She looks like one of Rob's exes, and you know exactly which one. She just looks like a younger version of that.
Her name is Maria Caballero.
Oh, yeah.
Maria Caballero. Look at her.
It's
awesome.
She's fine. She's a good-looking woman, I guess, but she's not. I'm jumping off a fucking bridge.
So you had a hard time picking out this beautiful woman, is what you had a hard time doing. You really had a hard time just noticing.
Even before we started the podcast, I said that you had a crush on some beautiful woman from that movie, and Chad didn't even think it was the right movie you were talking about. Chad thought you confused the movie with something else. So I'm not the problem, bro.
I just stay right there, and they were all so insulting. I was like, I'm not saying any of those things. I'm like, I was gonna be so mean. I was like, I can't say any of these things. It's oh my God. I'm trying to. I couldn't find like a way to insult Chad without being a dick. So I tried not to. I was trying to like insult your taste, but I can't do that because you have bad taste. I love your wife. I love your wife. Hey, I love your wife. Okay, I'm digging a hole. That was a really good movie, The Last Omen, and God bless.
The First Omen, though.
First Omen.
Yeah. Oh, I was talking about The Last Omen.
Got it. We figured it out.
We figured it out. So point is, Rob, this Jewish man, has a fetish for nuns. Chad.
It's Maria Caballero. She has something else.
Well, yeah. Enough of this nonsense. Chad, what'd you think about The First Omen?
It was fine. It was completely fine.
Yeah.
I wasn't blown away by anyone, attractive or not. It was completely fine, especially coming off the heels of seeing Immaculate, which I liked better.
Ooh, okay.
I wonder if I would have maybe flip-flopped and watched The First Omen first. I don't know, because it was a lot. Obviously, there's similar things, similar themes going on in these two movies. And I did like Immaculate better. First Omen was fine. Whatever. It was fine.
Yeah, I wasn't raving about the movie. The movie was fine, but no,
And is that your review? The movie was fine.
it was hot though.
What are you eating?
I have I got back in town from teaching at a workshop last week, and it's sort of like an exercise in gluttony because they feed us well during lunch, and then we go to these amazing restaurants for dinner. And I put on like 13 fucking pounds in Birmingham, Alabama. So right now I'm eating a bowl of sliced almonds with albacore tuna with nothing else on it. That's what I'm eating right now. I'm trying to lose weight because I want to look good for Maria Caballero. I'm going to meet her. What I'm going to do.
Yeah. Okay.
Next moment.
If I would have had 1,055 guesses about what you were eating, I never would have come up with shaved almonds and tuna. Like that would have not been something on my radar.
It's strikingly or strangely delicious.
Okay. Well, that's good. That's what the fuck. What
No,
the
they say hunger is the best seasoning, and I've been for myself. So these almonds and tuna are just astounding.
Yeah. That okay.
You know, Keith, the flow is so much better in Not Quite Darkness when it's just me and you talking about movies.
Don't have these.
I feel like I'm doing a bad impression of Burt Reynolds.
Yeah. Almonds, tuna. Yeah. And then he eats it. Yeah. I don't even know how to respond to that sometimes, but that's fine. It's whatever. First Omen. I dug it. Look, the original Omen film is one of my favorite films of all time. Richard Donner. It's a fucking classic.
It's one of the great horror movies of all time.
Absolutely. I think one of the best movies ever made. Gregory Peck is phenomenal. So I love the little tie-in of that. I think Ralph Ineson as playing second Doctor Who, that's divine casting. I really like that. I like Rob's new girlfriend, the 95-year-old nun. She was great. And that young lady was fantastic as well. There's some parts of it that they set up in the movie and they just never follow through with. I like the initial concept of it, but it feels more Exorcist than it does Omen to me at certain points. And there is some fuckery with the original continuity. In the original continuity, the priest says that he saw the birth, and here we can clearly see he doesn't. Damien's mother.
He's lied?
Oh, God, yeah. Well, that's kind of the point of that movie. Damien's mother was supposed to be a jackal, but obviously she's a human, all this. The twin stuff, that's interesting. I wonder if they're going to pick up with that anywhere. They did take a lot. So in the Omen franchise, there's 2 movies where he's a child. And the third movie, it's Sam Neill playing Damien. And the 4th movie is a made-for-TV movie where Damien has a kid. And the way they depict the, I guess, anti-immaculate conception of this film, of the devil doggy styling rectally somebody in order to conceive them, that's from the Omen 4 is where that comes from. And that's how Damien impregnated a prostitute, was anally. Welcome to our podcast, ladies and gentlemen. It's so good to have
John Cena talked about butt babies in his show.
Okay, well, yeah, that's yeah.
I remember it was episode 4 or 5 of talking about butt babies.
Yeah, so there we go. What a wonderful time we're having already.
And you brought it up, you weirdo. Weirdo, pretty, and you brought. Yeah. Who brought up a jackal having anal sex, trying to impregnate somebody? That was you.
First of all, you clearly didn't listen to what I said, but that's fine. That's totally fine. Your almonds and tuna. Let's go ahead and dive into some of the big stuff because we haven't been on the show. We haven't recorded in about 2 years. I think this is our first recording in the Biden administration. So we have a lot of stuff that we're going to be covering. And the first one, let's just go ahead and get it out of the way. It's a big one. You know, in all of these searches for cinematic universes, a lot of things are turning to doing film and television simultaneously for beloved properties. And some people say the television shows don't hold up as well as the movies. And this first thing that we're going to talk about is clear proof that that's not true. Of course, we're talking about Knuckles, the television series featuring Idris Elba and Carrie Elwes, or however you say his name, the Princess Bride guy. I watched it. It's 6 episodes on Paramount Plus. Did anybody else watch Knuckles? Am I the only one that did their homework?
I did not.
Is it good?
It's fun. It's cheesy. The 6th episode is terrible, but the first 5 episodes were a lot of entertainment to me. Like, I love Idris Elba as that character. I love the shtick of the warrior who doesn't understand anything and is just like, yes, I will slay them, but British and sexy and all that shit. It's great. I had a blast watching it. And it keeps up the same energy as the Sonic movies, which are a lot of fun. I didn't play Sonic as a kid because I was a Nintendo kid. So I don't know how much of the mythos it's into, but again,
Have you ever eaten at Sonic? Does it hold up with the food?
I don't really like Sonic that much.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
I'm not a fan either.
You know if there was any continuity from the restaurants to the show.
Yeah.
So if I like the movies, though, the first two movies, I actually liked the first one. That was very enjoyable, I thought.
Yeah.
I don't remember the second one. I'm not even sure if I saw it. What is it? So there's a similarity. If I enjoyed the first movie, will I possibly enjoy Knuckles? I am a fan of Idris Elba. So
Yeah, absolutely. And Idris Elba is in it the entire time. Sonic and Tails show up at the beginning of this. Watch Sonic 2 so you get introduced to Knuckles, so you get established who he is. But then they make Knuckles Jewish in this. So they start calling him Knuckles, and then he goes to a Shabbat dinner and like has the Shabbos and everything like that. It's wonderful. It's quite lovely. So
Knuckles.
yeah, so it's pretty fun.
Oh,
Yeah. So I think you like it.
yeah,
So
Go ahead.
speaking of cool things that we watched and things I think you'll like, let's go ahead and talk about a 70s sci-fi franchise that's found a new life, people bringing it back with interesting characters and development. Obviously, we're talking about one of the greatest franchises of all time, Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. Chad and I both saw this. Chad, what did you think about the newest adventure to the Planet of the Apes?
Well, I did want to say this before we really get started. Since it's been like 2 years since we recorded, there's probably like 40 things that we have to get to. We need to just knock these out. Keith, you don't need to like talk about how Furiosa reminded you of some Eastern culture that you visited a long time ago.
It probably does.
We don't need any weird tangents from Rob, even though he's already been doing it. We got to focus and get through this together, guys.
50 minutes ago. Okay, I'll pull back.
It's a lot.
Reel it
It's
in.
a lot.
Yeah.
So I may just give a couple sentence answers for some of these or whatever. Let's just knock them out. So Kingdom of Planet of the Apes, I enjoyed the new version of Planet of the Apes. I like this new world, prequel world, maybe you could say, depending on, how it goes. Yeah, I'm enjoying these. This is no different. I had fun with it. I just like it how, clearly humans are the bad guys, even in this. I mean, they're assholes. They're the bad guys.
Yeah.
And in this one, this is really apes the entire time with very little human.
Yeah.
In the movie. I mean, there's one, female character lead, but she's in it a little bit. She's in it, but it's straight up apes in this movie. And the special effects are incredible. It looks great.
Absolutely.
So I like this world. Yeah. I'm enjoying it. I hope there's more. I hope there's another one. I'm enjoying it.
Yeah, I loved it. I thought the new one was fantastic. I thought Duran, whatever his name was, the guy who played the Blob, which we'll talk about in a second, he was having a blast as the antagonist. We'll talk about him more in another film. Even, this is Apes, and the villain is an ape, but also the human. I love the fact she's not to be trusted. Like, I love that there is something nefarious about what she's doing as well. And it really, you don't even see it all unfurl. And that's kind of interesting. William H. Macy is barely in this movie, but he was great in it. I fucking loved the doctor. The orangutan gibbon character was awesome. He was incredible. Probably my favorite character of the film. And I think, too, what's very interesting is that them developing these cultures amongst the apes, that you have the Eagle clan. That's a cool new thing that we haven't seen in this franchise yet. And so they are going into a new territory, and I'm excited to see where it goes next.
I too like to your point too. I also like how the Eagle territory, at least the main character, he didn't even know anything about Caesar.
Yeah.
It's like, it's not Caesar's not the be all end all, to all of these because they're so spread out now. So I like that. I think that's cool.
And I also like the fact that there is this modern commentary about how religious figures can be misconstrued and how that can be bastardized for whatever your purposes were. I kind of thought we were going to, when we broke into the thing, that we were going to go to Beneath the Planet of the Apes, which is like one of my favorite movies, worshiping the missiles and the bombs and everything like that. But we didn't necessarily go that direction. But it was just very interesting. And I left with a lot of questions because it establishes that in this world now, there are some humans that have resorted because of the disease, that the plague that spread. They've gone back to primitive states, but some can talk.
They're smart. Yeah.
Some retain their intelligence. And that's, again, something we didn't see in the original series. So I'm just excited. I hope they make 95 more of these because I'll watch them forever. Anything with a giant ape, which takes me to the next thing we're going to talk about. King Kong, Godzilla, New Empire, New Kong, Godzilla, whatever it is. Chad had watched this a long time ago when it first came out. I watched it like the next day, but then we haven't recorded in 9 months. What a fucking blast this movie is. Best movie of the year so far, just because it's fucking fun. There's a surprise character that shows up. But of course, this character is going to show up. But I didn't know this character was going to show up. And it's just fucking there's monkeys riding ice dinosaurs. What more do you fucking want? And Chad had made a comment about how the director loves Dan Stevens. And I thought there was hyperbole there. No, Dan Stevens gets like stripper pole dances every 5 minutes. Like, and it's just, and his character's named Trapper, and he just doesn't make sense, but it's awesome. Just a blast. Such a fun.
We're spoiling it. We're spoiling it. Let me guess who's in it because I haven't seen it. Is it you said this character shows up?
Yeah.
Is it Gamera, the giant turtle?
No.
Is it Rodan?
No.
Is it Ghidra, the three-headed monster, or Ghidorah?
Nope.
Is it
He's just reading off a list. You'll get it one day.
oh, listen, I've seen all these monster movies. Is it Godzilla's child?
No.
Is it King Kong's child?
He's the main character, but that's not who the other one shows up.
Is it Kyle Chandler?
No.
Okay.
Do you want me to tell you?
Sure, tell me.
It's Mothra. Mothra shows up.
Oh, fuck me. That's like the only one I didn't. God damn it.
Yeah. And it's like obvious, but then like when it happened, I was like, fuck yes, this is
You know
happening.
what's so funny? I was thinking, I was picturing the two little Asian women who Mothra was like praying to, and I didn't say Mothra. Oh, fuck me.
Yeah. But they sort of like hinted that relationship. It's interesting. They do a bunch of interesting stuff with the movie. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's cool.
Yeah, and it's a good war between these two factions and parties for a little while. But speaking of war between factions and parties, Chad watched a movie from probably the best film production company out there today, A24, a film called Civil War. Chad, what did you think about Civil War? Is it imminent for us or what?
Yeah, that's a longer podcast to talk about that. But again, this one it's fine as well, and it's not because it's A24. It's definitely not like your typical A24. But you know what I wanted was really fighting and Civil War type stuff, and a lot of the movie is just a road trip movie of these journalists, trying to make it to DC. That's what the movie is, and they occasionally will encounter these things, and we don't really see, like the trailer would suggest, war big time. Like we don't really see that. So it was really just that's not what I was expecting. My expectations as far as that goes. I wanted more of the war. It was really just more of a road trip with journalists and things like that. I will say the Jesse Plemons stuff is by far the best stuff in the movie. It's just not enough Jesse Plemons in this movie, but like his stuff was awesome.
And the story is that they had another actor for that part that dropped out last minute, and Kirsten Dunst was like, my husband can do it, and her husband's Jesse Plemons, so he came in at last minute and just fucking conquered it, apparently. So
yeah, he's awesome.
Yeah, everyone's raving about how great he is. And people are raving about this next thing as well. It is a long existing franchise that some will argue has become kind of kiddie in its newest incarnation, that it's almost childlike. But I think that fits with the origins of it. And clearly I'm talking about Inside Out 2. Chad and I both watched this. Chad, what did you think about going back into Riley's mind?
I've been pretty critical of recent Pixar films.
Unfairly so. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. But to me, this is the Pixar of old. I loved it.
Yeah.
I loved this movie. It definitely had the old Pixar feel. Just, you know the story. It's, Riley's emotions in her head, and we have new emotions this time, like anxiety and embarrassment. And it's just so clever, so smart. And even though it's about a preteen, teenage girl, I'm not sure how she is, uh, going like into high school, it's relatable to virtually anyone.
Absolutely.
Everyone has these emotions. Everyone has anxiety to a certain degree. Everyone has joy, sadness, embarrassment. Everyone has this, and it's so well done, so clever. I the Inside Out. I love the first movie. I think I might have even liked this one more. It's really, really well done.
I think what's so interesting about it too is the outside story is such a slice of life story that's small. It takes place over 3 days, but the internal conflict feels massive. It feels huge. And I think Maya Hawke comes in as anxiety, fucking knocks it out of the park. Is incredible. There's so many brilliant jokes. The sarcasms, that was genius. I almost stood up and applauded just for how dumb and fun that was. There's a section where they run into her secrets, and the things that she's locked away, and all of the secrets are in a different style of animation. There's like a Final Fantasy VII Tekken character. There's a Blue's Clues sort of ripoff that was hilarious and also kind of nefarious. I'm kind of shocked the darkest secret didn't come back into play at any point in the movie.
Well, it was the stinger at the end.
Oh, I didn't see the stinger. What was the stinger?
I'm trying to remember. It wasn't any like major dark secret, but it was kind of like maybe Joy or somebody letting the dark secret out, and it's like it's okay, you can let out your dark secret. You'll have to Google what the dark secret, but it was completely innocuous. It was like
Okay.
I stole the tater tots in third grade or something like that. It was
Oh,
something
gotcha.
that was nothing. And whatever they said, to that, like he got embarrassed again and went back into the thing. Yeah, but
That's
it
awesome.
was the stinger at the end.
Okay. Well, then, yeah, I they turned the lights on me, so I didn't get to see that thing. But yeah, I loved it. I thought it was great. I thought it was heartbreaking at times, but in that good way where anyone could relate to it. I think young girls and young boys need to see something like this, but parents also need to see that message of you can't control what your child's going to be. You just have to love them and let them experience everything. And like,
Right.
I don't have human kids, I have fur babies, but I like clung to them a little tighter, just like I love you for who you are. You know what I mean? That sort of shit. So I loved it. I had a blast watching it. I had a great time. Let's
The whole industry is thrilled that it is infusing an unbelievable necessary load of money into the not the studios, but into the theaters, which
yeah.
unbelievable.
Yeah.
It's very necessary. It did 100 million its second weekend.
Yeah, that's
That's
awesome.
great.
And the high estimates for the first weekend was 90. It beat the high estimates for the first weekend on the second weekend. I mean, it's astounding what this is doing. But again, I mean, it really, perfect storm. I mean, there hasn't been a whole lot.
Yeah.
School just let out. Parents were looking for that thing. It's been, how long has it been since
I want to say she aged
years?
in real time, right? 10 years, maybe? No, because
Really?
she's only 13 in the thing.
Yeah.
So people who were 13, 10, 12, 13 back then probably have kids right now. They remember it. It hit
So,
a lot of generations. Yeah, it's
9 years.
It's gonna blow past. It was. I think today it was at 765 million worldwide. It's gonna blow past 1 billion in the next through this weekend. It's crazy.
Absolutely.
And again, it's Pixar, but it's a Pixar of existing IP. It's not a new Pixar property.
Yeah.
So it's like you said, Rob, it's definitely a perfect storm in that regard. I don't necessarily know if a original Pixar property coming out 2 weekends ago would do anything like this.
Oh no. That's definitely part of it. I mean, it's nostalgia for people. It struck every chord. Yeah, I think again, I think the theaters and studios are very lucky right now that did happen because everything else has just been, other than Bad Boys 2, everything else has been pretty well underperforming to the most part. So
Yeah.
Shockingly so.
Shockingly so. Well, I think that just, presumptions don't benefit them anymore. What used to be a sure bet isn't isn't anymore, right? So you can't really presume anything, but that leads us into the next thing that we're going to talk about. As a puppy waves, this is the only moment this should be a video podcast. It's the dog. But the next thing Rob is going to talk about, and that is Presumed Innocent, episodes 1 through 3, that stars Jake Gyllenhaal and Peter. No, what's the Skarsgård's name?
It's Peter Sarsgaard. It's
Peter Sarsgaard, yeah,
who actually isn't he
brother-in-law.
Brother-in-law in
Yep.
real life?
Mhm.
He's married to Maggie Gyllenhaal, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
Yeah, it's again, based on original IP, based on a book a while ago, and actually was made into a movie. I don't remember back what year, with Harrison Ford back in the day. So it was a movie that was pretty damn good. I don't remember the outcome of the movie, so clearly this seems to have taken its own track a little bit. And because I haven't read the book, I don't know which one's closer to it. But boy, it is tense. Gyllenhaal is Gyllenhaaling like he does, and it's quite a cast of names. If it's on Apple Plus, I don't want to go too deep into it right now. It's still early in the series, but it gets into it quick, and his life is turned upside down. It's beautifully shot. One of my favorite actresses, who just doesn't get enough, Ruth Negga, who was
Oh yeah.
nominated for a couple of Academy Awards. It was fantastic. As a matter of fact, the first thing I ever saw her in, and she popped off the screen, was Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., of all things. I mean, just you're watching that show, and I liked it. I know you guys did, but she's so good. Literally, she just glowed on that show. That's how, above and beyond everybody else she was, and she clearly has taken off. But it's worth your time. It's great storytelling. It's well shot. It's well paced. And if you like combination of drama, police thrillers, and court procedurals and thrillers, check it out. It's fucking good. And it's early, so it's only, I think I've seen 4 episodes now. I think it's 4 because they dropped 2 off the bat. But it's Apple Plus continues to make a really high quality stuff. You can tell they put money into their stuff. Whether or not they all go over is another story, but this is pretty good.
That's awesome. I love things that involve people's whole worlds turning upside down, because you feel the stakes in those situations. And that brings us to a story about everything turning upside down. Another series. This one I think is on Netflix. Chad watched it. It's going to sound Christmassy, but it is not. And that is Baby Reindeer. Chad, tell us about Baby Reindeer.
It's not Christmassy for sure. Yeah, it's a Netflix series. It's based on a true story about basically this guy's stalker. And the cool part about it is that the main character, the actor playing the main character, that really happened to him. He's playing himself and what happened to him in the situation. And he does not necessarily come off in the show as in the best light. It's not like he's the bad guy, but he certainly comes off as maybe he is giving this stalker different ideas about, like, oh yeah, maybe we could be together, things like that. Like, he tries to act like to a degree that he's being nice and I'm being too nice. You know what I mean? But there's certain moments in the thing where, like, yeah, he shouldn't have done that. And I can also see how, because he wrote this and he starred in it, he could be in real life an unreliable narrator, as far as what actually happened. You know what I mean? But I mean, it was, I would say, it had to be so cathartic for this guy, because it's more than just his stalker. It's also his coming out story. I mean, there's like so much that he actually does. He's acting his butt off, but again, he's playing himself, but it's worth a watch for sure.
That sounds awesome. I hadn't heard the playing himself aspect of it, but that sounds so fucking interesting. Plus, when you could take a true story that otherwise just wouldn't, you see some things that think, oh, that could never happen. But truth is often stranger than fiction. That's the craziest part of it. And we also find that with the next installment that we're going to talking about, another Netflix entry.
And let me just hit on that real fast. So on the heels of that, because there was so much press about it, the real life woman he's dealing with has come forward and is denying a lot of it, and actually has taken, I don't know where it stands right now, but she has filed a lawsuit against Netflix and the production company.
I also saw that she was on Piers Morgan, I believe it was,
Like,
and was attacking back at him, and then he had brought some receipts that were sort of damning to her in those moments. So it's interesting. I mean, we'll see how, with some of these based on true life stories, some of the victims of Jeffrey Dahmer sued Netflix for the Dahmer series, right? So, because again, they're saying it portrayed their loved ones in a strange light that wasn't necessarily truthful. But sometimes these people they take liberties with the stories that they tell, even if it is based on fact, and we see that as well with the thing I was going to introduce before Rob fucked it up with one of his tangents. But that
before we
is
go on, I'm just kidding.
yeah. Richard Linklater's newest film, Hitman, on Netflix, starring that gorgeous lady from Andor, who, if that would have been who
That's
you were
gorgeous.
describing,
100%.
that's
100%.
gorgeous.
Star Wars nerds! Star Wars nerds! Only pretty people are on Star Wars.
That's true. And then Top Gun
That's
guy is right there. So
He's pretty attractive himself.
yeah, he's got a nice smile, definitely. So Chad, I think all three of us saw Hitman. Did you see
I
it,
have,
Rob?
not, I have not seen it yet.
What a fucking waste of space.
I know. I'm dying to see it too. I'll watch it after this. That'll help.
Okay, good. Chad, what did you think about Hitman?
Yeah, I like the two leads. This was fun. I had a good time with it. It's like you said, taking liberties. It's loosely based, on a true story about, a guy. He is not an informant. What do you call him? He's just undercover. He acts as an undercover
poses
hitman.
as a hitman. Yeah.
Yeah, and then they, get people on tape saying they want somebody to be killed, and then he's there, to set them up and stuff. I mean, that's the gist of it. But at one point in the movie, close to the end, like I'm watching this, and I'm like, I've been rooting for Glenn Powell the entire time. You know what I mean? Like, and then it's like, this is getting pretty deep here. Some of the stuff that he's doing. It's weird that I'm still rooting for him with some of the stuff that's going on.
Yeah.
And then the movie's like about to end, and I'm like, boy, they took a big swing, like, ending it this
Huge.
way.
Yeah.
And then it was nice because at the end it was like, yeah, this is all true story, except for the murder stuff, or whatever.
We
So
made
it's
that
like,
up. Yeah.
I'm like, oh, okay. Then the stuff they made up is the stuff that you would not be comfortable liking someone for. So, yeah, I thought it was cool. It really kept me on my toes to a degree because I thought it was going to go this way, and it kind of didn't go that way. I thought the, Rob, you can cover your ears or whatever, but I thought the female lead, I thought she was going to maybe like do things to set him up.
Yeah. Me too.
And that's not what but yeah, it's interesting for sure.
Yeah. I think, like, to me, going into it, I thought it was going to be a romantic comedy. And I think at the beginning, it sort of sets itself up like that. But then I don't like either of these people. Like, they're bad people. And there's always that. And to me, it's not trying to smooth that over. It's just saying, yep, this is what happened. This is what it is. And even at the very end, which is supposed to be the happiest moment, I'm like, what the fuck is going on? You know what I mean? Like, but again, I think there's different types of chemistry that actors can have together. And this is like an erotic chemistry. If that makes, like, this isn't a sweet romantic comedy. This is a we're gonna fuck our brains out romantic comedy. If you want to even have the comedy aspect to it. I believe her when she's in the stewardess outfit because that's eyes popping out. If that was your nun roommate, it would make sense. But
in a hot nun outfit. What is wrong with you?
but I dug it. I think it was a really good watch. I think they had really great chemistry together. And I want to say the same thing about the next pairing of actors that we talk about, which is in a new film that came out this year that didn't do well in theaters. And I don't understand how. It is a remake of a television series starring Ryan Gosling and Emily Blunt. It is, of course, Fall Guy. Chad, what did you think about the Fall Guy?
It really stinks that it didn't do well because it was very good, very funny. I loved it. They had amazing chemistry.
Amazing
Gosling
chemistry.
Emily Blunt. This is the Ryan Gosling that I like. I don't like Slit My Wrists Ryan Gosling. That's not the Ryan Gosling.
I love that one too.
I like Barbie Ryan Gosling, Fall Guy Ryan Gosling. It's so funny. I love it. I love this movie. I can't praise it enough. I'm so disappointed that it did not do well. And if nothing else comes out of this, I want to see Aaron Taylor Johnson in more comedies.
Yeah.
Because the little bit that he was doing, I was dying.
Yeah.
He was great.
He was great. And I think Ryan Gosling was playing so well off everybody. Their chemistry was just so fucking phenomenal. Like every time they were on screen together, you couldn't help but smile. If I was John Krasinski, I'd be like, honey, do we need to have a conversation? You know what I mean? Like that would be, and the stunts were impeccable. They were phenomenal. The way they incorporated the original Fall Guy into it, I thought was great. That was a lot of fun. What's her name from Ted Lasso? She was great in the movie. I just dug the shit out of it. I had a blast watching it. It was a blast. It was just one of the most fun experiences I've had in viewing a movie in a long, long time.
And it was truly like a love letter to stuntman too. It truly
Absolutely.
was.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I like that aspect of it.
Yeah.
Well, good news is, your boy, Mr. Taylor Johnson, is coming out in a comedy. It looks like a comedy called Craven. It looks hysterical.
Craving some laughter.
That's right. Oh my God.
Well, you don't have to worry about it because we know you're not going to watch it.
Waka waka waka.
Yeah.
That looks like shit.
Yeah.
I am so mad at myself for not seeing the Fall Guy.
You should watch it. It's great.
I think Rob, you would love it. I
do too. I honestly think you would dig that.
I like all Ryan Goslings. I like Drive Ryan Gosling. I like Blade Runner 2048 Ryan Gosling. I like all the Ryan Gosling. I like
the right year.
What was it?
2049.
I saw him the year before, and
gotcha. Yeah.
That was nice.
Saw the prequel.
That movie where he was boring as shit. I even loved him in that. It's really sad. We just watched the movie, never smiling. It just great.
Drive.
But it's when he drove to the moon, though. So this is a different one.
Oh, First Man or something like
First
that.
Man.
Yeah.
Yes.
Driving
to Florida so he can drive to the moon.
Yeah. Well, speaking of driving to the moon and crashing, let's talk about a sequel that we all have seen, a Zack Snyder joint, Rebel Moon 2. It gave me scars watching it. Chad, what did you think about this cinematic disaster piece?
This is good. I liked it.
Jesus fucking Christ.
I think, listen, it was just as good as the first one to me. I know you didn't like the first one either, but I thought it was just as good as the first one. I enjoyed it. It's a complete paint by numbers story. Absolutely. No question about it. The special effects look good. It was cardboard characters for sure, but it was fun action. I enjoyed it. Thumbs up. It was just mindless fun.
I'm with Chad on this too. It was fine. Was it great? No. Was it the worst thing I've ever seen? Not even fucking close, because I've seen a lot of Star Wars movies. So yeah, it was absolutely fine. He paints a pretty picture. Whew, character development, not a thing. I like the lead girl. I like the actor who was the lead bad guy. They just should have left him dead after the first one and build to a bigger bad if you're going to follow formula with Star Wars. Always a bigger bad. But it was fine. It was eye candy. I watched it when I was tired. It was just mind-numbing, pretty pictures of sci-fi. The effects were good. Again, the slow-mo lulled me to sleep, which was nice. A lot of slow-mo. I didn't realize that slow-mo seating, a field is
for
so
45 fucking minutes harvesting wheat
on a loop, and that could put me to bed every night. It was fine. Do I wish it was better? Yes, because it would have been cool if it was great. And then if had Netflix have their own sci-fi thing, but what are you gonna do?
I guess the reason I don't like it is because it is nothing but eye candy, and I'm diabetic. What a piece of shit movie that this was. It's just garbage. It's just so fucking empty. I thought the first one was bad. The second one makes that look like fucking Citizen Kane. I just can't. I hate
not true.
Yeah, I bet you did. Fucking piece of shit. Okay,
I like Citizen Undertaker way better than Citizen Kane.
Yeah.
Is it Toxie? Citizen Toxie 4?
Citizen Toxie 4 is fucking amazing. Yeah. I love that. I'll watch that any day compared to this shit. All right, but speaking of shit, what do we have on here that's shit? Chad, talk about the
Something
watch.
Rob watched. Something
Oh,
Rob
something Rob
watched.
watched. Yeah. Speaking of shit, talk about Mayor of Kingstown, season 3, episode 1 through 3.
I gotta tell you, like, if you like dark and edgy and violent and well shot, good dialogue, and a cast of good actors, Mayor of Kingstown's good. It's really good. I mean, it is brooding and brutal and cold and stark, and it's nice. Renner's great. I'm just glad he's alive to shoot season 3. I mean, that was touch and go there for a while, but it's a damn good show. And that universe, I just forgot the name of the producer, the writer producer, who's he does everything on Paramount right now. He's the Costner Show and all the Yellowstone. Same guy.
Tyler Sheridan.
What's that?
Tyler Sheridan.
He said Tyler Perry. I was like, Tyler Perry. Yes, yeah, Taylor Sheridan. Yeah,
Tyler Sheridan.
excellent. It's well done. You can tell there's a real craft. He's got a real handle on his craft. It's sharp stuff. It's good. It's an easy watch. It flies by. It's never a dull moment. It's just the level of urgency and life or death stakes is great. Render's awesome. Watch it if you like that shit. Good stuff.
All right, awesome. I watched another film that Chad watched previously. It's a Netflix movie called Damsel, starring Millie Bobby Brown. It's good. There's a dragon in it. There's a lot of action. Angela Bassett was in it. That sort of shocked me. Enjoyed the fuck out of it. It was a lot of fun. All right, moving on. Chad watched The Watchers. Who watches The Watchers? Chad does. Chad, I don't even know what The Watchers is. What is this? Is it the M. Night Shyamalan movie?
It's her daughter. It's his daughter.
Oh, okay.
Directed it.
Okay.
Yeah. So I mean, Shyamalan might have produced it, M. Night Shyamalan, but his daughter is the director. I think this might be based on a book. I'm not sure. It's not the Dean Koontz thing, though. It's not that book, I don't think. But basically, the gist of it is, if you've never seen the trailer, is the main character, Dakota Fanning, goes out into the woods and she gets lost. And she finds basically like a bunker in the woods or whatever that people are in it because she thinks she's being attacked, and she gets in there and they're like, okay, you're safe now. But you have to stay in here. And basically when they come, they're going to watch you. And it's like a two-way mirror where you can't see, and they just hear creatures on the other side. So basically you're stuck here now, and it's almost like a zoo. You're in here with us, and if you leave, they're going to kill you. But as long as you're cool in here, and they can watch you, you're fine. That's the setup of it.
Okay.
And it's a very interesting setup. And it's kind of like, what's going on really? What's happening? It's good up until basically the reveal of what actually is going on.
Yeah.
And then it kind of, not falls apart, but then it's kind of like, okay, I know where this is going. I know what's going to happen. I know, where before I was like, I have no idea what's going to happen. And I knew going in that this would be a type of movie that is, I feel like it's going to rise and fall on the reveal.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, what's really going on? What's watching them? Are they really being watched? What's the deal? And, it kind of just fell flat for me in that regard.
Right.
So.
Okay. But I'm glad to see his daughter breaking out and trying to do a horror film. It sounds interesting. Again, I like the premise of it. Love Dakota Fanning.
There's some creepy stuff in it too. It's creepy. Don't get me wrong. It's just, once the reveal happens, it's kind of like, oh, okay.
Okay. Well, that sucks. I do like the creepy vibes. I watched the creepy film available on Shudder. It's called Stopmotion, one word. And it's about a stop motion artist who is trying to break out of the shadow of her mother, who is also an animator in that medium. And as she's starting to make her own stop motion film, she kind of starts losing her mind. And it's one of those where you wonder, is there something else going on here, or is it what's happening on the surface level? And it is what's happening on the surface level, but it's terrifying the way they incorporate the stop motion animation into it. And it's just a good little creepy watch. It's not for everyone because it definitely has some body horror elements to it. But it is interesting. It's dark, and I like dark things. But speaking of dark things, that takes us on to Rob watched Dark Matter. I'm gonna assume episodes 1 through 3 because that seems to be how many episodes he watched.
1 through 8. There's one left. The season series finale. I don't know if it's a one-off or what it is. So 8. So the penultimate episode was on this past week, and what a good sci-fi show! Holy crap! It's Apple Plus is coming off 2 shows that I really dug. One called Constellation, which I loved, which maintained this dark piece with Numi Rapace, and who's amazing. And it was just it was so dark and I felt well written and intelligent. And then the TV show Sugar with Colin Farrell turned out to be a hybrid as far as genres, and it had sci-fi elements in it, which I loved. It was sort of a film noir sci-fi. And then bam, right into this, based on a book that's I haven't read, well received. I kind of want to go back and read it now. The actual showrunner was the guy who wrote the book, then rewrote the series, and the showrunner says he likes the series better than the book, and the book is well received. Joel Edgerton, goddamn.
Yeah.
Jennifer Connelly, goddamn. And then a really great cast around them of actors you'll recognize in this really freaky, bizarre, based on real science. Let's just say a scientist gets to see what his life would be like had he not made certain choices based upon an invention that he creates. And I don't want to give away spoilers right now because it's still on, but it's really good, man. It's worth a watch. Again, Apple Plus, high production value, really just getting some top quality people and giving them some amazing material to work on. And it is just mesmerizing. If you like sci-fi, if you like thrillers, it's little action. It's good, guys. It is really, really good. So,
that's awesome. That's awesome. I watched 2 television series. One of them is as good as what Rob described. The other one, not so much. Let's do the not so much one first. It's a Netflix original. It's only 6 episodes. It's a Shane Gillis show called Tires that he self-funded. The first episode sucks. The first episode is really, really bad. But then the other 4 or 5, they're good. I mean, they're fine. They're fine. It's fine. It's that roommate. It's the roommate nun. It's fine. Yeah, I would be happy to be on it. It's fine. So there's that. If you want to watch, it's like trying to be The Office, but a little bit more crass. And I think it could have used another pass on the scripts, but it's fine. And then the second thing I've watched, I think all 5 of the episodes that have been released. It's still being released, but it's My Adventures with Superman season 2 on HBO Max, with Jack Quaid as Superman. The first season was fantastic, and this second season is even better because it is incorporating the larger DC universe without they show you a Green Lantern, but it's not a Green Lantern you've ever heard of. They show you Hawkman's planet, but you don't see Hawkman. You see other things from it, right? And so it's a lot of fun, and it is taking twists and turns that even from watching the first season and the first couple episodes of season 2, I did not see coming. It is zig-elling where it should have zag-elled, and I am totally fine with that. That was a really good Superman joke that neither one of you laughed at enough.
analyzing.
Yeah, that's fine. Whatever.
So I'm not gonna laugh at that. He doesn't get it.
No. Do you get it?
Zig-El instead of Zag-El. At first I thought you were doing a Nazi thing like Zig-Heil. I was like, what are you doing, you fucking weirdo? But
no, it was not.
Deflection,
because he doesn't know what the joke means. That's what that is.
No, you were talking about Jarrell.
Okay.
Why did you talk about Jarrell?
Yeah.
Jarrell? How about the hot nun on The Last Omen?
The First Omen? Yeah. Speaking of what can we talk about here that has a hot nun? This doesn't have a hot nun, but it has some hot. No, there's no way to segue into this one. Let's talk about Late Night with the Devil with David Desmalchin. I saw this. Chad saw this. Rob, did you see it?
I've not seen that, actually. I thought we talked about it last time, no?
No, I think we talked about the preview whenever it came out.
Oh, maybe the trailer, maybe. Okay.
Yeah. And that was probably the last time we recorded that the trailer had just come out. They just finished
They
production.
just greenlit the movie to be made.
Yeah. So Late Night with the Devil. I watched it. Chad watched it. Chad, what'd you think?
Yeah, I was a fan of this. I love the conceit. I love the whole setup of it. To me, it didn't stick the landing.
Yeah.
When we are like everything on camera is awesome. Even the behind the scenes quote footage is awesome. But once we are basically in his mind and seeing stuff that you wouldn't see, that's when I'm just kind of like, okay. I'd much rather just like seen the show play out with, again, if we want to see some behind the scenes backstage stuff, that's fine too. But yeah, once we started seeing like crazy stuff in his mind, it kind of lost me a little bit, but I still enjoyed it. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah, I didn't like the behind the scenes stuff. I like the on camera stuff. I thought all that was great. I thought he did a fantastic job of sort of embodying that 70s style talk show host. I was cool with the weird shit at the end because again it made it feel more that satanic vibe idea, and also blames him for everything. So that's kind of a neat choice. But yeah, I had a lot of fun with it. Thought it was a cool little
You
movie.
say so it breaks the found footage. It doesn't maintain it 100% of the time. Oh, okay.
Yeah. But I think it does a pretty good job of trying to acclimate you to that. Yeah, I thought it was fun, but I don't think it was as fun to me as the next film on the list. It's another horror film, again with a young child that might have something wrong with her. That is, of course, Abigail. Chad and I watched this. Big surprise. About who watched it out of the three of us. Who did the homework? I wonder if you can guess, audience.
Horror movies scare me.
Yeah. Chad, what did you think about Abigail?
I enjoyed this a lot. I had a lot of fun with this. I'd mentioned this to Rob just when the trailer came out. I might have mentioned it after I saw the movie, but it's kind of like From Dusk Till Dawn. I wish I hadn't have known.
Yeah.
I mean, I get it. I get why they did it. They want to tell you it's a horror movie. It's vampires. Come watch this movie. Like I get it, but I just wish I hadn't known going in, because it would have been an awesome reveal. You would have been kind of like, what's going on? Because they don't know what's going on. They're trying to guess what's going on, and you'd be right there with them. So the fact that we already know it's fine. But take that away.
I didn't mean to cut you off. They could have hinted in the advertising that she is something special and not given away everything. It still dangled the carrot that it's not everything is as it seems, and not giving away the vampire thing.
I think they wanted. It was because of Megan, quite frankly. Megan became a moment with her doing that dance and the whole thing. So they wanted a ballerina vampire. That's what they wanted to go viral, basically. That's what it was. But regardless, I like the movie. It was funny. I love the guys that did it. The Ready or Not guys. I love those guys. But you had mentioned him earlier. Kevin Durant was the all-star of this movie. He was so flippin' funny. I loved him. And whenever people are getting knocked off and stuff, I'm like, I don't care who dies except for Kevin Durant. I don't want him to die. I'm going to be mad if he dies, basically. Like, I loved him. He was so funny. Some very funny stuff in this. Very, bloody. It doesn't shy away. And, it's cool. I dug it. I liked it a lot.
I think the thing that I like about it so much is it feels like the directors looked at all the actors and were just like, do whatever the fuck you want. And then they did, because Kevin Durant is having a blast playing the weirdest fucking person I've ever seen. He plays this Quebecois person with this thick accent, and Dan Stevens, that New York accent he's putting on is thick as shit. The lady from Scream is having a blast. Ant-Man's daughter is having a wonderful time. I couldn't understand half the fucking things Angus Cloud said, rest in peace. And it just seems like all these actors, even when Giancarlo Esposito shows up, he looks like he's having a fucking ball with what he's doing. And that energy is all over the movie. And the little girl playing Abigail is fucking wonderful. I love the change of the mythos of what a familiar is and how she puppets them and all that stuff. I loved the cameo at the end. I thought that was cool. What a great actor to choose for that. And then again, his behavior was fun. It was weird. It was just a blast. And again, it feels like that Scream energy they brought to it, that Ready or Not energy, but now infused into a vampire movie. I had a wonderful time watching it.
Yeah, it was fun.
I hope they build an entire franchise off of it, because I think it can support the weight of that on its shoulders. And that brings me to the next thing that we're going to talk about. Chad watched a Netflix movie starring Shang-Chi and Jennifer Lopez. It's called Atlas. I don't know what it's about, so I just went Atlas, the actual fucking, because on his shoulders, that's what I did. Chad, what do you think about Jennifer?
Before you go, let me review the trailer. Worst trailer I've ever seen. Go ahead. I thought it was a joke. I literally thought it was a spoof.
The trailer looks like a movie that would be inside of a movie, like similar to Fall Guy. You know how Keith and Fall Guy, there's a movie, that they're filming or whatever, and they show the trailer of
Which
that.
also,
like that.
Just an aside to Fall Guy, what a wonderful solution they have at the end of Fall Guy for that movie. Just that was great. Yeah. All right. Go ahead.
Very funny. Atlas. Jennifer Lopez is Atlas, and it's a little on the nose because she's basically got to save everybody. That kind of deal. It's about rampant AI goes crazy and tries to take over the world in the future. It's completely forgettable, skippable movie. It's one of these Netflix films. It kind of reminded me, even though it's not a Netflix film, it kind of reminded me of is it 65 with Adam Driver?
Oh.
Which it's there or whatever. If you never saw this movie, you wouldn't be missing out on anything. It's very similar in regards to that.
Yeah.
What's that?
The disappointment that was. Holy crap.
Right. And this didn't even have like the clever concept that 65 had or whatever. But yeah, it's not, you don't need to worry about it, as far as that goes. Like I said, completely skippable.
And if you look at the ratings, I was going to say, just from the numbers and the views it had, it killed on Netflix. I mean, it's amazing how many people watched that thing. It was #1 for a few weeks on Netflix. I mean, by a long shot. I mean, it did well enough. I hope to God they may do a sequel on that thing.
I'd watch it if it came out. Atlas 2.
That's crazy. I didn't think anybody was racing to see that. And sadly nobody.
Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah, what a different world.
Yeah. But sadly, nobody was racing to see our next film either. And that is Furiosa and Mad Max Saga, or Story, or whatever the fuck it's called. The latest by George Miller, starring Anya Taylor-Joy and Chris Hemsworth. Chad and I saw this because we have good taste in films.
I don't know if I told Chad this. Keith and I had the conversation. I finally went back and watched Fury Road on Max. I tried to do it about 3 months ago and I couldn't get into it. So about 2 weeks ago, I'm feeling pretty good, feeling pretty clear head. I'm like, I can fucking watch this thing with a clear head. About 15 minutes in, and I'm like, it's pretty fucking good. Yeah, I'm kind of enjoying it right now. 30 minutes, I'm texting Keith, this is good movies. You motherfucker. He's like, I'm going, why don't you guys tell me how good of a movie this was? This is really, I didn't remember a lot of it. I was like, I enjoyed the shit out of it finally. It took me about 10 years to catch up, but it was a pretty good movie, Fury Road.
Yeah.
I made see Furiosa.
You should.
After Fall Guy.
Chad.
And
Lord.
Yeah. Chad, what'd you think about Furiosa?
It was awesome.
Yeah.
I loved it. It's a worthy sequel to Fury Road. Absolutely.
And also not trying to do what Fury Road did. I'm sorry to cut you off, but go ahead.
Yep. Because that's what I was saying. It's a lot of action, a lot of awesome action, but it's not nonstop action. We stop for story beats. We stop for character. We stop frequently, which Fury Road was cool for what it was. It's just like basically a chase movie for 2 hours. It was awesome. We don't need to keep having chase movies for 2 hours or whatever, give us some other stuff. And I thought it did it excellent. And to me, it made, I feel like it's making Fury Road better.
Yeah.
Because of all the backstory it's adding to Furiosa and what her, what she went through to get to the beginning of Fury Road, to do what she was going to do. I mean, I dug it. I'm so disappointed that it did not do anything at the box office. I can't believe, because it's so good. It's a movie to be seen at the theater for sure.
Yeah.
And they didn't go see it.
I think it's like it feels like a classic film. Obviously, I mean, it's broken down in chapters. I think it's a bit slower than Fury Road is, but I think intentionally it takes its time with moments. I think Anya Taylor-Joy is phenomenal in it. I think whoever was cast as the young Anya Taylor-Joy, I thought it was Anya Taylor-Joy in Steve Rogers shit. You know what I mean? Like,
I thought I heard that they used a little bit of CGI with the child to make her look a little bit like Anya and Charlize.
oh, that's crazy. I could totally see that. I wonder, I mean, because there's obviously a lot of CGI stuff, and I think you can tell the CGI a little bit more in this one than you could
Yeah, you
in
can.
Fury
I
Road.
think so.
Hemsworth is having a lot of fun. Just going
He was great.
crazy. What a fucking weird Peter Pan pirate he played in this movie. And that was a blast. And the action sequences are violent and fun and just intense. And yeah, I dug the fuck out of this. I liked it a lot.
Same.
Yeah. You know what I don't like a lot? Listening to old people talk. And that brings us to our newest section of the podcast. An old man reviews old shit. Or whatever you wanted to call it. So here's the way this works, guys. Doing this podcast was Rob's idea. He wanted to watch new comic book movies as they came out. And that lasted for the first episode. And then ever since then, it's been me and Chad.
Success.
Yeah. So Rob has now seen 3 movies that aren't new in any capacity. So he is going to take us back to each of these films. And I want to paint the picture for you. The year is 2018. Imagine life was so much more. I mean, it wasn't great. It wasn't great. People went to the theater. The president was orange. And that's all I got. What did you think about Blockers starring John Cena?
Oi. So I was flipping channels the other night on Hulu and I came across Blockers. And I remember seeing the trailer, and I'm a fan of Cena. And Chad's always saying, you know, no matter what, Cena goes for it. He commits 110% all the time, which is very, very, very true. And Cena, who we love, you know, I can speak for all of us here, has, I think, the best comic book series of all time in Peacemaker. Well, before Peacemaker, there's a movie called Blockers, who he co-stars with, I think, one of the truly great female comedic actors of all time and underappreciated, Leslie Mann, who I think is amazing. And this is a funny as shit, R-rated teen comedy, but focusing mostly on the parents, that I laughed my ass off for 90 straight minutes. I know it's funny. I think comedy, when they say about comedy, the secret to comedy is timing. I think the secret to also laughing at a good comedy is being in the right frame of mind for it. And it was just right movie, right actors, right time, funny as shit. And as far as it's funny. So those of you who haven't seen it, 4 parents who are quite sort of friends, sort of not friends. Their kids who are friends are going to prom, and they come across a plan for their kids or their daughters to lose their virginity at prom. And the insanity ensues, and these parents set out to block this plan. There go Blockers. And it's funny from beginning to fucking end. What's his name? Ike Barinholtz. Funny as shit. And I don't know a whole lot I haven't seen a lot of Ike Barinholtz's work. I'm familiar with Ike Barinholtz. Funny as hell. Cena funny. I did Leslie Mann. Funny as hell. The young actresses are awesome. Well done, well cast, well written. It is a comedy, I think, to be, if not seen for the first time, revisited often for a good laugh. Check out, in our little flashback here, Blockers.
And
Blockers too, Electric Boogaloo. That'd be great.
Yeah, that'd be great. As Rob said, the secret to comedy is timing, and the important thing about timing is being a couple years late. He has 2 other movies he wants to discuss. The next one takes us back to the year 2015. President Obama was in his second term. Paris attacks were growing with the threat of ISIS, and Donald Trump was dominating the GOP field when a film called Tangerine was released. And so Rob watched this film. Interesting because it was shot on an iPhone.
Leave me my talking points.
Oh, that's all you had about the movie?
Don't just say iPhone 5. Wait, move on.
Yeah. So what did you think about Tangerine?
Sean Baker, a director who has been well known on the indie scene for quite some time, made a movie called Tangerine, one of his earlier films. And they had lost out on funding for another movie, and they were dying to make a movie. His producer said, I can get you a certain amount of money. You have another story. He says, I have an idea for a story. Let's flesh it out. Did not plan on using an iPhone 5 other than for budgetary reasons. It wasn't an aesthetic choice at the beginning. I've been watching a lot of interviews with him. He's fantastic. But that being said, the timing was right. The iPhone 5 just came out, and there was a couple of companies that had just come out with beta testing some adaptive anamorphic lenses for this movie. So he met with them. They all got together, and lo and behold, this really striking looking piece of cinema on the iPhone 5, which I believe won Sundance. I believe, and really kind of, though he was already well known on the indie circuit, really launched him. And again, jump a couple years later, a movie called Red Rocket. He seems to delve into the world and lives of sex workers. Tangerine was in that, Red Rocket was in that, and his new
Florida
movie,
Project.
That was, yeah, that's right. I forgot about the mom. And this new movie, which just won the Palme d'Or at Cannes, and I'm blanking on the name of it right now, was also dealing with sex workers, and it just won the Palme d'Or. And the fuck's the name of that movie? You can look that up. Just a real striking movie, Tangerine. Brilliant colors. I mean, non-stop pacing. It is literally as if the movie was shot out of a cannon, and a very simple, basic story of a sex worker is released from prison, doing some time, and she is looking for her boyfriend / pimp, who she has heard some rumors about, and it is just takes you through the world of people with some interesting lives and what's going on, and it is tight, it is fast. He is known for working with experienced actors, but balancing it out with less experienced actors, all the way down to people who have never acted before. And he does just an absolutely amazing job, and not just in this movie, on the 4 or 5 movies of his I've seen, of working with, I mean, taking chances on these people. It's kismet. He must have a sixth sense of people. He just can do what he needs them to do and to tap into their lives. And it's fascinating if you haven't seen Tangerine. Red Rocket on top of that, and all the way to what's the name of that? Do you know have the name of his current movie?
Honora.
Thank you, Honora. Yeah. It hasn't been released yet, but I believe this year it's coming out.
Yeah. And those are some wonderful thoughts on Tangerine. And to round out the segment, Rob is going to use his walker to go a little bit further into the future, all the way to the year 2021. The pandemic was still in effect, lightening up in some of the restrictions. We had the 46th president of the United States of America. An insurrection sought to thwart that, and the Taliban took back their power in the Middle East. As Rob watched this movie that was being released, it's called Red Rocket. Again, this former director that we were just speaking about, Sean Baker, his 2021 film. Rob, what did you think about this movie that has been out for a couple of years?
I love this movie and the story behind it. So another one. So they had another movie planned to shoot up in Toronto. They were up in Canada. Was Toronto? Shit, it was somewhere. They were somewhere up in Canada, planning on shooting a movie. They had Willem Dafoe up there. They were prepping. They just happened to come back to LA. Everything shuts down. They're down for the count because of COVID. Producer says, "What are we going to do? What are we going to do?" He says he has an idea for a story. Red Rocket is the story. He has an idea for it. He had the story a few years earlier. And a few years earlier, when they were discussing this movie, Red Rocket, my dogs are having a wrestling match. Again, casting actors without a lot of experience and casting them without knowing a whole lot about them. He saw Simon Rex on a now defunct app called Vine, doing 6-second videos. And he's like, I don't know who this fucking guy is, but if I ever make this Red Rocket movie, this is the guy. A few years later, later passes. They've got the movie fleshed out during COVID. They take a ride to Texas. They find their locations. They put themselves in a little bubble of a crew of 10 and some actors. I shoot this wonderful little story about a guy who's a former Triple X movie star, and who wants to come home, and he's out of the business, and he's coming back to Texas to kind of try to rekindle things with his wife and get his shit back together. I think Simon Rex gets nominated for an Academy Award for this thing.
Yeah.
I think he's up there. What a cool movie. And just the way Baker, he likes to dabble with different formats, decides to shoot this on Super 16, because he always wanted to shoot a movie on Super 16. So that, they shoot this movie on Super 16. It's beautiful looking, anamorphic. And again, this economy of shots that he uses is simple, just letting it all just kind of play out before the camera. The performances are fantastic. And again, if you go back and listen to his stories of how it was cast, half of them were cast just on their location scouting. Like, hey, how'd you like to be in a movie? How'd you like to be in a movie? The lead actress he met 3 years earlier, just going to a screening in LA at the Cinerama Dome. They were there for a red carpet thing. And they see this actress. They don't know who she is. They see this girl. They approach her. She just got into town the day before to be an actress. They offer her the role. They said, at some point, we're going to make this movie. You're the lead. They exchange information. 2 years later, they contact her. She's like, are you shitting me? It's amazing the way these movies come together with him. His interviews, I've been just really diving into his interviews from all different places, at all different festivals, just about the making of his movies. And it's just very inspiring. And I'm looking forward to Anora coming out. Because I'm hearing Mikey Madison will be up for an Academy Award. The performances are astounding. So that's my look back into the past. I am Walker, Texas Rob here, using my walker.
Ladies and gentlemen, that's an old man watches old movies.
Right.
All right, now back to our.
I was just I saw all those movies. I liked them as well, but I watched them when they actually came out years ago.
Damn.
Does that make you better than me? Are you better than me, Chip?
100%.
So here's the deal. We got it's been so long since we recorded that Star Wars released 3 different television series in the meantime. So we are going to talk about all 3 of these Star Wars shows.
No, we're not.
Yeah, we literally are.
Star Wars shows.
There's 3 of them. So the first one is the final season of Bad Batch, a show that Chad and I love.
You can talk about that.
Yeah. Thanks for permission.
We let you talk about these old ass movies. We can talk about Star Wars on this pop culture podcast.
Before we dive into this, what is the one between Bad Batch and I can't even say the words. It's
Rob has never looked older than just then.
What's the one between Bad Batch?
What is the one between the Bad Batch and the Acolyte?
The 3 shows are Bad Batch, the final season, Tales of the Empire, and the Acolyte. Yeah.
You may go ahead with those.
Oh, well, thanks for permission. I'm glad he's all spent out from talking about his movies.
I didn't know if I had. I wanted to hold down my tuna and
almonds.
The Acolyte's going to be a tough one.
So gross. Anyway, that doesn't even sound tasty. I don't like tuna, but it's
strikingly delicious. I'm stunned myself. I really thought I was going to be choking it down. It was delicious.
Well,
Thank you for humoring me.
Chad, what'd you think about Bad Batch?
Yeah, it's a cool series. It was a really good send off for these characters. We were both wrong about Tech.
Completely.
He was dead. That.
Well, yes, but also even if he was dead, they still could have been using him because all those guys were dead.
Right. Crosshair didn't die.
No.
He's my favorite, but I think you could make the argument that maybe he should have died for his arc, but I really liked the whole send off. I really did. I loved the Omega really came into her own as far as it, throughout the series. Yeah, she's, growing up as far as that goes, but like she's telling people what to do. She's coming up with plans, like she is really becoming Omega as far as that goes. So I really liked the end, the postscript, if you will, where she's grown up and the Bad Batch is old basically, and she's like, "Yeah, I'm going to join the rebellion, and I'm going to go fight." I really thought that was super cool how it ended with her story that way. I dug it.
I loved Asajj Ventress is one of my favorite characters. So her coming back, that was a lot of fun. And
Yeah,
you're
that was cool.
seeing her in a different light. And the idea that it leads us straight into A New Hope with her being a member of, the rebel squad and everything like that, that's great. But also leaves us plenty of room if we want to pick back up with Hunter or Wrecker or any of those people in between that time. There's ample opportunity for that. I just I think Filoni knows what he's fucking doing, and I like all of these shows, and I like the way he's filling in gaps and playing with the history. This happens here, but see how it connects and builds to this. That's awesome. And perhaps no show does that more than the brief response to the previously released Tales of the Jedi, Tales of the Empire. So this show I had no idea was going to be so concentrated on two specific stories, whereas Tales of the Jedi sort of gave us every episode another person we're talking about. Tales of the Empire focused on two different people. What did you think of the show that focused on Morgan Elizabeth from Ahsoka and everything, and then what's her name from Clone Wars?
Barris.
Barris, that's right. Yeah.
So I want to be honest with you. We saw this 8 years ago, whenever it came out. It seems like it's been forever. And it was shorts.
Yeah.
It was 6 episodes. They were tiny episodes. I can barely remember what happened in these. Barely.
Yeah.
They clearly did not leave an impression on me.
Yeah.
I remember Thrawn was in it. That was cool. And I liked how like some of the Empire was like stupid as far as their thoughts about her.
Yeah.
But Thrawn, who's like the smartest person in the room, is like, these guys are idiots.
Yeah.
Come join me. You know what I mean? So I did like that aspect of it. And there's definitely some I can't remember if it was the Ahsoka show or the Mandalorian show, but there's, definitely some stuff that linked to those shows. So I like the whole linkage, but I guess I kind of wanted, if it was Tales of the Empire, I wanted like 6 standalones. Just give me, just give me all different, instead of like a longer story, just give me like one thing with Tarkin, when he's younger.
Yeah.
Give me something here and there.
Yeah.
Just expand the world, one episode, one character at a time. That's what I would have preferred, because again, I really don't remember this too much.
Yeah, so the Morgan Elizabeth stuff was her family were killed by Grievous, I want to say, General Grievous. I think, Jesus Christ, it has been a long fucking time. Her family of the witches are wiped out. She goes to a different tribe of witches. They take care of her for a while. She grows to resent them and realizes they have power, so she starts to use that, ascends to power within the Empire itself, takes over her town. Then we have the Barris story, which gives some redemption for Barris from before, in an interesting way, because it does show her becoming one of the Inquisitors, right? And that was cool to see all of that.
I did think that was cool. I remember that now. I did think that was cool.
And so that was interesting to see the Jason Isaac character back. It was interesting to see how those were formed. And then in the end, she decides not to be one of the Inquisitors, rebels against, and we see her ultimate sacrifice. And I thought that was a lovely sort of touchstone for her, and an arc that was completed that sort of redeemed who she was.
That began the Clone Wars.
Yeah, that began the Clone Wars. Yeah. And so I agree with you. I would have liked to have seen it be. It's almost like when you buy a collection of DVDs from like all the seasons of a show, and seasons 1 through 5 have a theme to the box, and season 6 fucks it up and they go back to it in season 7. That's what I felt this was. Like it was like you set up Tales of the Jedi and Tales of the Dark Side to be corresponding pieces, but they weren't anymore.
Right.
And so I kind of would love to have seen a little bit more exploratory of some of the other characters, but I wonder if this was doing heavy lifting to set up what will happen with Morgan Elizabeth next. because it does seem like they're going all in for her. You know,
Yeah, I think so. But I would also like, let's keep this up, but it doesn't have to be Jedi Empire. Tales of the Rebels.
Yeah.
Tales of the Bounty Hunters, Tales of Jabba's Palace, whatever. Let's just keep it up. But again, I like the one-offs,
Yeah.
but yeah, just show me some random dude that was at Jabba's Palace. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
the dude training the Rancor. Like, give me an episode about that.
Absolutely.
Just keep stuff like that. That's what I'd like to see with it for sure.
Well, I mean, technically it's Danny Trejo now in the continuity, but whatever. So
Did you recreate the voice in Asanto? Did she come back and do the voice of what are we talking about? Tales of the Rebellion thing? Wasn't it about that her character? I had to go. My dogs were having a war. I had to leave for a second.
yeah, 19 words you said in that sentence were wrong, but yes is the answer to what you were trying to get to.
In Asanto, that's Danny Asanto's.
In Asanto, yeah. In Ahsoka, Danny DeSanto's daughter is Morgan Elizabeth, and she
Gotcha.
reprises her role in
voice in
Tales of the Empire. Yeah.
Gotcha. Awesome. Yeah, we got there.
Yep.
Yep, we did.
And speaking of getting there, this is the show that there's two shows people are dying to talk about and really want to hear from us, our opinions about them. And the first one is a Star Wars show to finish off this trilogy of new Star Wars shows. Obviously, it is The Acolyte. You're not going to hear anything but positive things on this podcast about this show. Chad, 3 episodes have been released. The 4th episode will be released tomorrow. 4 episodes have been released. The 5th episode will be released tomorrow. Rumor is that that's going to be the episode that changes everything. We'll see. Chad, how do you feel about the first 4 episodes of The Acolyte? Now, before we get into this, though, Rob, you've seen just the first 3?
Seen all 3 episodes.
There are 4 episodes.
So the premiere episode, the middle episode, and the series finale, as far as I'm concerned.
Okay.
Episode 3.
Okay.
So,
That's a pretty good joke, Rob. I give you credit for that one. That's pretty good.
I didn't think it was great. Go ahead, Chad.
This is a fine series. It's really cool seeing the Jedi being the dicks of the universe.
Yeah.
I love it. They just come into a town or a planet and be like, "Hey, we're here to check your kids, and we're going to take them from you." Like, I love that about the Jedi. They're not totally 100%, good. They're doing things that are not cool. I like that. Now, am I losing my mind that they are lesbian witches that created children out of thin air? No, I'm not. I'm not losing my mind over that. Although a lot of people are. Does it make Anakin's immaculate conception irrelevant? No, I don't think it does.
Yeah.
I think there are different circumstances with that. Is this the best Star Wars series? No, it's not the worst.
Yeah.
It's not the
Obi-Wan
best.
exists for the best. Yeah. So
Yeah, and it's not Andor, so it's definitely not the worst. But it's fun. I like seeing Jedi. I like them being dicks. I want to see where this goes. There's one thing I don't like, and this is not just Star Wars, but you could say this about X-Men. They introduced it in the second Transformers movie. I don't like shapeshifters in the sense that when shapeshifters are in this world, now again, there's no shapeshifters in the Acolyte necessarily.
I was gonna say,
but there's shapeshifters in Star Wars. And in episode 2, there's a shapeshifter. So that race exists, apparently, as far as that goes. So it's not as black and white as, hey, they saw this person, that's got to be the killer. The whole thing of the first episode is they think it's this person because it looks like this person. I don't like that in a world where there's shapeshifters. It's not black and white. And everybody except for like the main character from Squid Game is like, it's black and white. It's her. She did it. Let's go get her. Blah, 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 blah. I don't like shapeshifters in general because it really is. It's kind of like, I'm going off a tangent here, but in the Marvel universe, how many telepaths do we have? White Queen, Jean Grey, Professor X. That's the big boys just right there off the bat.
Yeah.
So there's no, even bad guys are telepaths too. So there's no secret identities.
Yeah.
Everyone, we know who Spider-Man is because we're telepaths. Like, if you're a bad guy, find out who Spider-Man is and tell everybody who Spider-Man is. There's zero reason not to. So it's definitely something that people have to write around, or you just forget about it. We're not going to even mention that they're shapeshifters. So I just don't like shapeshifters in general being in this world because it messes up this story to me a little bit as far as that goes. The story is a little bit messy because shapeshifters exist. That being said, I like it. I like this time frame, finding more about this past that we don't know too much about. And I like the idea that, what is it, like 100 years prior to episode 1 or something like that? So Yoda's around.
Yeah.
Not only is he around, he's a Jedi, so I like that idea that some of these characters could actually pop up. I'm not saying they will, but that the fact that they're out there, I like it. I dig it.
Yeah, no, 100%. I think there's a lot of interesting possibilities. I think you did a great job of going off on a tangent about something that doesn't actually apply to the show. I
totally does.
Rob is muted, and that's my favorite part of this.
He's earned it. I've done it a million times.
While you were talking, Rob has never looked so angry in all of his life. He looked like he was actively on the message board saying homophobic slurs to people, like, as it was happening. Rob, I can tell you're super excited to talk about this show. So what I would love for you to do is list your 3 favorite things about it to just start off.
3 favorite things are they're short. That's good.
Good.
They're in English, so I can understand them. That's good, so the audio synced. That's good.
Yeah.
Carrie Ann Moss.
Well, that's sort of one of the best thing. The best thing is they were smart enough to get her. They were also stupid enough to kill her off like immediately, which is, Anyway, I digress. Look, folks, Bill Cosby only said one truthful thing in his life. Yes,
oh my Lord. I don't know. I don't like where this is going.
And he said, I don't know what the secret to success is, but the secret to failure is trying to please everybody. Why the fuck are you hiring directors if Dave Filoni keeps sticking his fucking little cartoon sensibilities in here? You hire good directors, stick Filoni in cartoons where he belongs. There's no way in hell this was not the tone that she planned on doing. This is awful. The tones are all over the goddamn place. Nothing makes sense. You're going from a movie that's edgy and interesting to a fucking kid show. It's awful. I don't care about whether they're women lead characters. I don't care what race, creed, color, sex. But you got a guy right now in charge like Filoni who should stick to cartoons because he's trying to cartoon everything. And you know what? A New Hope wasn't a cartoon. Empire Strikes Back, not a fucking cartoon. Okay, there are characters in it, but not a cartoon.
Are you going to say anything about the next one?
No, because the next one wasn't that good.
Okay.
The next one was You need to eliminate everybody other than Tony Gilroy and Jon Favreau and let them run this thing because you guys have joined the cult. Man, it is so awful. This show is so bad. It makes Obi-Wan look okay. It makes Obi-Wan look okay. It's unbelievable how bad this show is. It's all over the place. The stories don't intertwine. And nothing makes literally. There's a moment where they go, it's against Federation rules to take children. We're taking your children. It's idiotic from beginning to end. This is awful. It's awful. You guys have lost your effing minds on the show. That's all I'm saying. There's no way in hell I'm watching any more episodes of this show. There's no way. It's over.
Here's my impression of Rob reviewing something. That Harvey Weinstein guy, when he said that, like, why would you start with a Bill Cosby thing?
Harvey Weinstein said, I know a little bit about women. Let me say, sit around.
When Hitler had a good point when he said that, like, that's what you did.
You should have said somebody. I don't know who said this quote, but I heard this quote and it resonates.
Yeah,
that's how you do it.
or you do it in the voice, so you're making fun of him. You know what I mean? Like you have to do one or the other. But I
could have done the Jello pudding commercial.
Jello pudding with it. Yep, that's bad.
It's awful. It's flat out awful. It's awful from begin. Carrie Ann Moss, that scene was really good. It was interesting, but it's absurd. It is absolutely absurd. This relationship between the daughters, rocks. It's and it looks like shit. It has all the production value of Sigmund and the Sea Monsters from Saturday Morning in the 70s. It's what it looks like. Look it up. Look it up. Look it up. I'm bowed up to you. I dare you.
Are you getting mad at me that I'm not old?
Look it up. Look it up. Check it out. And then we need to do a side-by-side of Acolyte and Sigmund and the Sea Monsters. Tell me if you can see the difference. Yeah.
I feel like you'll be able to.
Monsters
I'm
was more
just gonna
dramatic.
call me crazy. I think you'll be able to.
Sea Monsters was a better story. Anyway, go ahead. I digress. I fucking hate it. So there you go. It's awful.
This show's great. I love the I like it. Like I don't think it's the best show in the world. I think they're rushing through a lot of like things that you could have drug out that fucking twin thing for a while. You know what I mean? You could have drug out the whole we suspect her of having killed. That's a lot of dramatic tension right there that you're just throwing away. But
well, everybody's gonna be saying because it's a shapeshifter. That's why they'd be saying that. So they have to get to it.
I feel like two madmen on this podcast. I love the Carrie Ann Moss thing. I like the fight sequences in the show a whole lot. Those have been really entertaining. Squid Game guy learned fucking English for this, and he's doing a damn good job. I don't think the writing necessarily meets my expectations. Like some of the dialogue is very stifled. Fucking love the way the Sith guy looks in the end of episode 4. His creepy ass fucking smile, phenomenal.
The fact that he not wipes them out, but he just force pushes all the Jedi. That's dope.
And just throws her out of the fucking way. Their little gopher thing, had Rob watched that episode, he would have loved it because he would have loved the gopher thing. He would have been like, "Oh, cute animal, I'm in."
Prairie dogs too. They get more gophers than prairie dogs.
Yeah. So I don't know. Like it's hit or miss with me. I'm excited to see what comes next. I'm excited to see what this, because again, this is an era of Star Wars we've never seen before. Even
It's
the cost.
definitely an error. Okay.
Yeah. And so I dig it. I think, other than Knights of the Old Republic, this is untapped territory, so I'm excited to see what we do with it. And anything that pisses Rob off this much is just great. It's gold. I feed off of that energy. You know what I mean? Like a psychic vampire. So I'm just hoping like they put all of his favorite stuff in. I hope episode 5, Emily Blunt shows up, and then she tag teams with like his favorite wrestlers or something like that in the fucking episode, so he's forced to watch it.
NXT and TNA, nice. That'd be great.
Well, so anyway, but I'm digging it. I think it's a super show. But speaking of super shows, that takes us to our last topic of the evening, and that is the revitalization of perhaps the greatest animated series, other than Batman the Animated Series, of all time. That, of course, is Hey Bub, X-Men 97 finished its first season run, and it's fucking perfect. I'm not going to bury the lead. Fucking perfect. Chad, what are your thoughts?
I love this show so much.
So much.
Unlike you, I think X-Men is the greatest cartoon of all time.
You could be wrong. That's fine. It's close.
Yeah. Regardless, it is close.
Yeah.
With Batman, it's close. But I'd put X-Men first. And it is pitch perfect.
Yeah.
Sequel, continuation, whatever you want to call it, to the original series with the original cast. I love it so much. The Genoshan destruction episode is without a doubt, the best cartoon episode of anything I've ever seen in my entire life.
Yeah.
It is so good. All I did after I watched that episode, and I really rarely ever do this, but I went on YouTube for like 2 days straight and just watched reaction videos.
Yeah.
Like over and over and over. of people reacting to this episode because it was so incredible. I wanted to see other people feel what I felt watching this episode. It was so good. If I have the tiniest of nitpicks, and I mentioned it the first time when we talked about the first few episodes, is I just feel like we're blasting through these events. Like these are major events in Marvel Comics that are six issues, a year-long storyline, and we are blasting through them episode after episode. So again, I'm not even saying that's necessarily a bad thing, but let's have some of this stuff breathe because some of these are major moments in the comic books with the X-Men, and we're seeing it for 15-20 minutes and moving on to the next major thing.
Yeah.
I love it though. Love it.
I think that not even the first half of the Genosha episode, but the second half of it, and that cutting to darkness, repeating the Scarlet Witch's line of "I can't feel you." Like, I cried. I'm not gonna lie, I fucking cried in that episode because it is my childhood literally dying on screen. One of the single most impactful moments I've ever seen on television. And that is in no way hyperbolic. Like, it was just fucking amazing. And it's the only show that I don't skip the intro because it slaps every fucking time. And I just feel like
it's different too. They add stuff to the intro
every single time. And I feel they do such a good characterization that's loyal to these characters. Of Scott, the first couple episodes, he's very heroic. He's never been such a badass. And then he kind of turns into a fucking dick. And that's a very good Scott. That's exactly what he should be. Xavier is kind of a douchebag, as he fucking should be. His battlefield is a classroom. Obviously, that makes sense. Wolverine stabbing Magneto, the brave always die first. Like, Jesus Christ. And then Magneto rips his skeleton out of his body in this fucking kids cartoon. No notes. Perfect. Yeah. Like, it does everything you want to, but it feels like the original show had such a great capturing of the characters. This does that, but also amps up the intensity and the stakes to a place where you always thought it was before, but now we're actually seeing it. Like, this feels like the He-Man toys, what they promised about the He-Man show that they never delivered on. X-Men 97 feels like it's actually delivering on that promise. And I love it. I cannot wait for a second season. There was an interview with Bo DeMeo, I think is his name. And he was talking about how he wanted us to grow up with this season and that it's divided. Genosha is September 11th. Everything before that is prior to September 11th. Everything post is after the world changed. And you can absolutely see that. That is the way this show feels. Yeah, and I just think it's I don't even know if a season 2 can be as good as season 1 because I think it met expectations and then blew them away.
right.
So yeah, I just love it. Loved everything about it.
Interesting too. Again, I haven't watched it. But Bo DeMeo they parted ways.
Yeah.
Right. He's not affiliated with it anymore at all, and it's never released what it was, and that's not the issue here. But it's he held, from what I understand, such a high level of quality and interesting ideas that it's going to be a whole other brain trust, at least from the top. At the top, and so it's going to be interesting to see if they can maintain that. Obviously, they have an unbelievable amount of history and rich comics to pull from, but it was sort of one man's vision that first season. So it's going to be interesting to see what they do. Question: you said it's the only opening that you didn't skip. Did you skip Peacemaker's opening? Did you not really want to taste it?
It's fine. I watched it the first 3 times, but then afterwards, all right, let's get to the show.
Just checking.
I watched it every time. It was great, Rob.
I did too.
X-Men's better. But that wraps up everything that we're talking about as far as shows. Look, it has been a couple months since we recorded, so there have been some notable deaths in the world. There are two that we are going to address right now. Two legends of the industry that have passed. And the first one is probably the greatest independent filmmaker of all time, not for quality, but just for the sheer amount of work he's done and how many filmmakers he touched, how much he's influenced the art of film itself. And that is, of course, the late, great Roger Corman. Um, I don't think you can be a filmmaker without having had some influence from this man, just because he has influenced so many other people and so many brilliant minds have come from his work. James Cameron alone, that one alone should buy you everything you need to know about how influential this guy was. So Roger Corman has passed away, and the second one, of course, is Donald Sutherland. One of the most preeminent actors to ever walk the face of the planet, could play any genre. I know Donald Sutherland always as the father of Kiefer Sutherland, but as I got older, I would go back and look at more of his work, and just constantly impressive, and this demeanor that he could change on a dime, but every single thing he said, no matter what the genre was, had such a gravitas to it and full conviction in everything he did. Yeah,
he does the greatest exposition dump in the history of film in JFK, where it's just him talking for about 15 to 20 minutes, and it's exposition, and it's riveting, and it's literally a class on how you do it, and pull it up on YouTube a lot. It's just amazing. You go, this is exposition, and it should win. And he was never nominated for an Academy Award, I think, if I'm not mistaken. I'm almost sure he was never nominated, but what an unbelievable filmography.
Yeah.
Agreed. Astounding.
To your point about Roger Corman, being a part of everything, if you go to IMDb, you look up Roger Corman, there's a section on there you may know him from, or you may know them from. You're going to be scrolling for days.
Yeah.
For Roger Corman, for things that you have seen and didn't even realize that Roger Corman had a hand in.
Yeah.
How different the landscape would be, the people he gave opportunities to. His film at Ron Howard. I mean, Jack Nicholson back in the day, he gave opportunities. If Roger Corman didn't go into filmmaking, the landscape and what the history of independent film and what the world would look like right now would be completely fucking different.
Absolutely. And still, to me, Roger Corman was always endearing because, he made some schlocky ass movies. So you would almost expect him to be crass to an extent. The appropriate gentleman at all points in his life. He was always always tucked in, always gentle in his speech. And still, even within the low budgets he was working with, was always constantly trying to do new things. I think about his classic Vincent Price Poe trilogy, where he does, I think it's more than 3, but they call it the trilogy. 8 Edgar Allan Poe movies back to back in Europe. And he's like, one of them he wants to shoot and feel very regal and like a Hammer film, and one he's like, the 70s people are doing great stuff, and he had just seen the movie Shampoo, I think, and wanted to use rear projection in some of his stuff, so he did it to give this trippy dreamlike thing, and he was constantly pushing himself. He fucking produced Fantastic Four, like the one never released. There's so much to what he did. It's just, you can't list it all. It's incredible the impact he had.
It's almost, if you think about a modern-esque Mount Rushmore of directors that we look to, they probably look up to him because they got to where they are.
Yeah.
Because of someone that he gave an opportunity to. And it's just, he just literally sits above everyone. It's crazy just for what he did and shaped this industry. It's fantastic. Yeah.
Yeah.
He lived a life. Was he 98? He was
something like that.
Holy shit. I mean, what a life he lived right to the end. I mean, it's goddamn.
Yeah. So Roger and Donald both will be missed. Our thoughts to the families, friends, and fans. And I think that about covers it. Everything for here. We talked about old movies that have been released almost 10 years ago. We did some movies. Deadpool and Wolverine's coming out pretty soon. So only have to wait about 8 months after that release that we'll talk about it. And in the meantime, Chad, where can the people find you?
Twitter X NQC Podcast.
Awesome. And Rob, where can the people find you?
Twitter X at Rob Pralgo. Facebook, Pralgo's Acting Class. I'm in Alpharetta right now, craving a pizza. If you want to go grab one.
Would your tuna and your almonds shaved didn't satisfy
Yeah, it's you know, as much as it was good, I would kill for a large pepperoni right now. Man.
Sound good. Yeah, and if you're looking for me, don't. See you guys later.
Not Quite Cool is a podcast recorded in Atlanta, Georgia, in conjunction with Actors Teaching Actors and Bean Dip Productions.